I know it's not exactly the spiciest way to start a social media post, but there has been some pretty massive news about an equation that I need to tell you about. Just go with me on this for a moment, okay? Because these are what I consider to be the most beautiful equations of all time. They are so glorious. They're called the Navier-Stokes equations. They're how we understand how planes fly, right? They're how we understand how blood flows in your body. Any fluid that moves, these equations are at the heart of them. By the way, I spent my PhD on these equations, so I've got them tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. Anyway, the problem is, as beautiful as they are and useful, sometimes when you use them, they break. So people were like, maybe there's a problem here. Maybe these just look elegant on the surface, but are actually very rotten underneath. In the year 2000, mathematicians put a bounty on it, $1 million prize to anyone who could prove that this equation always worked. It was like a romantic dare. Please, someone, prove that these beautiful things actually work. And in a quarter of a century and $1 million prize, no one's managed it. And it now turns out that might be because it's not possible. Because DeepMind has just released this new paper where they've used artificial intelligence to go monster hunting in equations of fluid dynamics. And it turns out they haven't just found one monster. They have found an entire zoo of previously invisible monsters that are hiding inside of these equations. Like, it's very, very, very bad news. Now, the one saving grace is that they haven't yet gone for the full Navier-Stokes equations, right? So they've gone for like a simplified cousin, one that's sort of living in this fantasy version of reality where there's no such thing as viscosity, right? Where you don't get any kind of honey-like resistance. And it's okay if we find monsters there, just. But what that means is that right now, the thousands and thousands of people who have literally dedicated their entire lives to these equations since the 1800s, I was almost one of them, are now, I imagine, struggling to sleep, hoping that viscosity will save them. So one of the most beautiful equations of all time hasn't quite been killed by AI, but it's definitely been kicked in the head, and it's lying on the floor twitching.